And we know that almost, probably 3/4 of the world were under the kingdom of Muslims. How far the Muslim dominance could spread. But we also know that it fell to zero again. It again fell to zero. And that happened, we can say, in 1200 and, uh, yeah, 1258 AD, when Halaku Khan attacked. And it was a massive genocide. Um, it's controversial how many people he killed then, but that's how the Muslim dominance was actually fully ravaged. There are different, some opinions say the number of people killed in that genocide were like 1.8 million. Okay, some people say 1 million, or some people say um, 0.1 million. Okay, so but there is no opinion less than that, less than that 0.1 million, 100,000. There is no uh, opinion less than this figure. So it may be between 100,000 and 1.8 million. So many people were killed, and the library was destroyed. Okay, so all the, lot of collections, major collections were actually damaged. Okay, like the what the uh, okay, anyway, so that's how the whole dominance again fell to zero, 1200, in the year 1258. So now we know that the Muslim dominance was growing up, but later it was falling, and it fell to zero. It fell to zero again. Okay, so now isn't it very important to understand when the slope changed from growth to fall? Because we know it was growing in the beginning, and for a good period of time it was growing. We also know it fell back to zero. But when the slope changed from growth to fall, at some point of time it stopped growing and it started to fall. When did that happen? When did that happen? That's important to understand, right? Okay, that's very important because when the growth is there, that's an indication of the assistance from Allah. When the Muslim dominance was growing, that we can infer that Allah is helping. Allah is assisting Muslim. And when it was falling, then we can infer that the assistance of Allah has gone away. So when the slope changed, it's I mean we lost the assistance from Allah. Okay, until then the assistance was there, but then Muslims lost the assistance, and then it started to fall. But okay, now let me tell you when that change of slope occurred. Do you know? Do you know when did that happen? It happened in the century from which you can say 1000 AD through 1100 AD. The slope changed from growth to fall. But this stupendous uh, kingdom or dominance took a while to fall back to zero. It took another almost 200 years to fall back to zero. Okay, so but the slope changed in this century. So this century has an significance, right? The dominance. But didn't I tell you another significance of this century? Do you remember another significance of this century, of the same century? 1100 AD through 1000 AD through 1100 AD. Did I tell you another significance of the same century? Do you remember? Now I'm saying that in this century the the Muslim dominance had a change from growth to fall, right? So Muslims lost the assistance from Allah. And in the same century, something else happened too. I told you a while ago. You don't remember?
Masjid shifting.
Right, yeah. The efforts of Talim shifted from the masjid, okay, or the inception of madrasa took place. The inception of madrasa took place, okay. Now we don't want to put it this way that the inception of madrasa caused or led to losing the assistance of Allah. We don't want to put it that way, but the real fact is, uh, as you shift the efforts of talim from the masjid, we actually lose masjid based efforts. Our masjid based efforts stop then. Okay. In this century, it is stopped. Now, a while ago, I told you that when masjid based efforts started, then the Muslim dominance also started, and then it kept growing because masjid based efforts was running, it was taking place. And when the masjid based efforts Muslims lost, they they also lost the assistance of Allah, and so the Muslim dominance started to fall. Okay, the Dawah efforts died out much earlier, but even after that, the dominance was growing, but not at the same rate. When Dawah efforts was there, the Muslim dominance was growing at a very good rate. When the Dawah efforts stopped or died out, the Muslim efforts was growing. The dominance of the Muslim dominance was growing, but not uh, that fast. Okay, but it was still growing because, the Muslim dominance was growing, but not that fast. But the dominance was still growing because Masjid efforts was still there. At least the efforts of Talim was there. So to some extent, Muslim efforts were there. But when people lost that effort, then the Muslim dominance started to fall. Okay.